Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to 9 Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. First things first, Snapshots presents a compact, story-driven entry point into Stephen R. Covey's well-known approach to personal and organizational effectiveness. Rather than functioning as a long, step-by-step manual, this edition emphasizes short scenes and practical reflections that highlight the difference between being busy and being truly effective. The book centers on the idea that time management is not primarily about squeezing more tasks into a day, but about aligning daily choices with what matters most: values, roles, and long-term purpose. Readers are guided to think beyond urgent demands and to build a life that reflects priorities such as family, integrity, health, contribution, and meaningful work. The Snapshots format makes key concepts easier to absorb and revisit, especially for readers who want quick reinforcement or a refresher on Covey's principles-based planning. It is positioned as a usable companion for anyone trying to reclaim focus, reduce overwhelm, and act with greater intention. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, from time management to priority management, a core message is that managing time is a limited goal, because time keeps moving regardless of effort, but priorities can be chosen and protected. The book highlights the common trap of measuring productivity by activity, more meetings, more emails, more checked boxes. Covey's approach redirects attention to effectiveness, defined as doing the right things, not simply doing things right. This shift asks readers to identify what success actually means in their lives, then translate that meaning into weekly and daily decisions. The snapshot style reinforces this by presenting recognizable moments where people feel pressured by urgent requests, last-minute problems, or other people's expectations. The lesson is that without deliberate priority management, urgency becomes the default decision-maker. Readers are encouraged to develop a personal framework so choices are not improvised under stress. That framework includes clarifying values, choosing a small set of high-impact goals, and using planning methods that keep those goals visible. The practical takeaway is a new definition of productivity: progress on what matters most, even when that progress is not loud, immediate, or rewarded by instant feedback. Secondly, the urgent versus important lens for daily decisions. The book underscores the usefulness of separating tasks by urgency and importance, a lens often associated with Covey's broader work. Urgent items demand immediate attention and create pressure, while important items contribute to long-term results, relationships, and personal integrity. Many people live in a reactive pattern where urgent requests dominate the calendar, leaving important work postponed until it becomes a crisis. The snapshots emphasize how this pattern damages both performance and well-being. Strategic work gets delayed, health habits erode, and relationships receive leftover time. By repeatedly illustrating this tension, the book encourages readers to build routines that give important activities a protected place before the day fills up. It also shows that not all urgency is legitimate. Some urgency is manufactured through poor planning, unclear expectations, or the inability to say no. The method is not about ignoring responsibilities, but about choosing a better order. Identify the few important actions that create the most value, schedule them early, and handle urgent items in a way that does not consume the entire week. Over time, this approach reduces emergencies by preventing them. Thirdly, values, roles, and goals as the foundation of planning. Another major focus is that planning works best when it begins with identity and purpose. Instead of starting with a to-do list, Covey's framework asks readers to start with values and roles, who you want to be, and the key areas where you have responsibilities, such as parent, partner, professional, leader, friend, or community member. The book's snapshot approach helps translate these abstract ideas into concrete choices, showing how misalignment happens when a calendar reflects other people's priorities more than one's own. By clarifying roles, readers can set goals that feel coherent rather than scattered. This also addresses the common frustration of achieving external success while feeling internal dissatisfaction. The book encourages goal setting that connects to principles like integrity, service, quality, and balance, rather than only short-term metrics. Planning then becomes a mechanism for living those principles, setting weekly intentions, choosing a limited number of big rocks, and ensuring each role receives meaningful attention. The benefit is a sense of continuity, where daily actions reinforce a larger life direction instead of pulling in competing directions. Fourthly, weekly planning and the discipline of keeping commitments. The book emphasizes planning on a weekly horizon because it is long enough to reflect priorities, yet short enough to adjust to reality. Daily planning can become purely tactical, while monthly planning can feel detached from what actually happens. Weekly planning supports balance across roles, realistic scheduling, and intentional time for important work that otherwise gets crowded out. The snapshots illustrate that the value of planning is not perfection, but clarity, knowing what matters before the week begins and having a reference point when interruptions occur. A key element is making commitments visible and then honoring them, including commitments to oneself, such as exercise, learning, preparation, and relationship building. The book also recognizes that life is unpredictable. Therefore, the discipline is not rigid adherence to a plan, but thoughtful renegotiation when circumstances change. This reduces guilt and chaos because adjustments are made consciously rather than through avoidance. Readers are encouraged to treat the calendar as a tool for values-based execution, not merely an appointment log. Over time, weekly planning becomes a trust-building practice with colleagues and family because priorities are communicated and followed through. Lastly, boundaries, delegation, and saying no with integrity. Protecting first things requires interpersonal skill, not just personal willpower. The book highlights that many time problems are actually boundary problems, unclear expectations, difficulty declining requests, or taking on work that should be shared. Through practical scenarios, it shows how to say no in a way that preserves relationships and credibility. The emphasis is on integrity, making and keeping commitments, then refusing new commitments that would cause hidden trade-offs. Delegation is presented as a strategic tool, especially for leaders and parents, because it multiplies capability and develops others. Instead of simply handing off tasks, effective delegation involves clarifying outcomes, resources, accountability, and trust. The snapshots also reflect that boundaries can be internal, such as limiting compulsive checking of messages or choosing focused work blocks. By combining communication skills with personal discipline, readers can reduce the constant influx of urgent demands. The broader point is that living by priorities is rarely achieved in isolation. It is negotiated in the context of family, teams, and organizations. Learning to set boundaries respectfully allows important goals to survive contact with real life. In conclusion, this book is well suited for readers who feel overcommitted, distracted, or stuck in a cycle of reacting to emergencies. Busy professionals, managers, entrepreneurs, students, and parents can all benefit, especially those who have tried typical time management tips and still struggle to make room for what they value most. The practical benefit is a clearer way to decide, choosing important actions before the day chooses for you. By focusing on values, roles, and weekly priorities, the book can improve relationships, reduce stress, and increase meaningful progress on long-term goals. It also supports healthier routines by treating personal well-being and family commitments as legitimate priorities rather than optional extras. Compared with similar productivity books that emphasize hacks, apps, or rigid routines, Covey's approach stands out for its principle-centered focus. It aims to change the underlying decision process, not merely speed up task completion. The snapshots format makes the ideas easy to revisit when life gets hectic, which helps readers sustain change rather than consume advice once and forget it. For buyers seeking a high-impact refresher or a concise gateway into Covey's priority-based planning, it offers strong value. If you would like to support Stephen R. Covey, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.